Good afternoon and welcome to David here from Vermicompost by Robin's Nest. Nice balmy day, winter time, coming into springtime, and my worm farms have been doing really well. I work with a horizontal migration, and then I put everything into this side of the bin, and over time I move it up to the top, and by the time it's got there I move it across to there. Is about 2 months later. At that point there shouldn't be any large clumps left. It slowly works its way down over the next month down to the bottom, where I take it out of the bin. I dry it in those two bars over there. When I fill up my bins, I always keep my bins at least 80 to 90% browns and about 10% green. Now green would be your vegetable scraps, would be your food offcuts, anything that you want to put through your bin that counts as food, still in this green state. So a leaf that's green would be food, would be like food, but a brown leaf is now become carbon. So I pull up, what I'm going to do today is put in only carbon, and I have already soaked my cardboard over here. Why I soaked my cardboard is that it makes it really easy to take it into pieces. Now because of the size of my bin, I don't need to shred it into tiny pieces. This size for me is plenty good. And I'm going to add to it a number of other different types of browns. Now I generally work with horse manure. Horse manure is my basis. What I like to do is use aged horse manure, which is, let's just throw some out, you can see it. It's a good dark horse manure. And I'll add to that, this is coffee grounds. This is coffee grounds. It's been sterilized by going through the machine, having gone through that temperature to make it, to make the coffee. The temperature is very high, so it sterilizes what comes through here. And I start mixing this all up together to create a mixture. You'll see here, just as an example, there's a worm living in the horse manure. Now there's two of them. They've fallen in there and they're happy. They haven't been given any food, and they've been living inside this horse manure on their own without any hassles. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a really good sized worm. Looking a little lethargic though. He's not exactly jumping around and happy to see us, but he's a very nice healthy looking worm. I'll add to that other browns. I collect whenever I can leaves, and I've get them from different places at different times. Wherever I'm driving around and I might see a drift of leaves, I'll pick them up. Particularly good if they're starting to break down already, getting to the point where they're starting to go and break down into these fields. There's another worm just living here, all happy on his own. Very lively little fella. This is what they're going to eat in nature. They'll be living on the forest floor. They'll be receiving the leaves that blow down and blow into drifts, and they'll go and look out for those places. They'll also be looking for the places where any animals that are in the forest may have dropped some horse manure. Would have dropped some manure, and they will live on the manure and they'll live on the leaves, the biodegrading organic matter that they can find naturally on the forest floor. They don't go into the ground though. They're not earth dwellers. These are a red wiggler or red wriggler if you prefer, and they're a composting worm. Of the three worms, this is the one that lives above the soil. So when you're doing your bin, you want to try and mimic the forest floor as much as possible. So different leaves from different trees in different areas. That's why I like to use different leaves from different trees from different areas. I try and stay away from those oily leaves. Eucalyptus is probably one of them that everybody will know of. Pine is a little bit nasty on the hands, so I tend to stay away from that. I don't add all the other bits and pieces that some people might. Some people might add kelp. Some people might add rock dust. I tend not to. Now this is sort of a straw. It's actually came off a horse's bed, but it's all natural. Now this is all brown. I'll mix it all together, and this gets inoculated with some of the existing microorganisms that are already prevalent in my worm farm. So I'll take some of this and I'll throw it in as well. And I'll take it all and stir it all up. And then that would be what I would throw in to create my next section of bedding that will then become the area that is the newest area in my farm. And as I say, I will slowly move things up, across, down, and then out to be harvested. The only other thing that I add to this is some eggshell. But I crush my eggshell. A couple of reasons why I use eggshell. First one is it's a pH buffer, meaning that it brings the alkaline levels down. So I'm going to crush it up to the point where it's very, very fine, and I will throw a handful or so in here. It's not just a pH buffer, it's also used to assist the worm in the swallowing of food in much the same way as a bird has a crop. So does a worm, and it assists with the swallowing of the food as it goes through. They are obviously sucking in the microorganisms and the food at the same time, and it assists them to have eggshell as a grit. If you don't have eggshell, you don't have crushed eggshell, and you find it difficult to get hold of lime, a handful of sand, fine sand, will suffice, will work just as well. Well, I wish you well in your worming, and please don't forget to like and subscribe to my other YouTube videos. Thank you very much.